Turn that off. Turn it off right now. That was the first thing she said to me that morning. Not, good morning. Not, sorry to bother you. Not even my name. Just shouting. It was 6:15 a.m., pitch dark, snow coming down sideways in thick, angry sheets. The kind of Colorado storm where the wind cuts through your jacket like a knife and the world feels muted, insulated, almost peaceful. At least, it had felt peaceful until she arrived. She stood at the end of my driveway, hands clenched into fists inside pristine white gloves, her boots already soaked at the edges. $1,000 UGG boots, if I had to guess. Designer boots made for lattes, not snowstorms. Her name was Priscilla Thornfield, HOA president, and apparently, suburban sheriff. She waved a piece of paper in the air like it was a badge. "You're waking the entire neighborhood," she yelled over the roar of my Snowblower. "This is completely unacceptable." I shut the machine off. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to hear every word she was about to say. The engine wound down, leaving behind a sudden silence broken only by wind and the faint hum of distant traffic. Snow settled on my shoulders. My breath fogged the air. She stomped closer, heels sinking into the snow, anger written all over her face. "I have a cease and desist letter here," she said, shoving the paper toward me. "Effective immediately, you are prohibited from operating noisy equipment before 7 a.m. Failure to comply will result in $500 daily fines." I looked down at the letter, then back at her. "For snow removal?" I asked calmly. "Yes," she snapped. "For disturbing the peace." I gestured behind me, at the row of driveways I'd already cleared that morning. Smooth, clean, safe. Not a single car trapped. Not a single elderly neighbor forced to shovel. "I'm on my own property," I said. "At 6:15 a.m. She scoffed. "You old men are always hiding behind property rights," she said. "This is a modern community with modern rules." Then she said the sentence that changed everything. "You're just a grumpy old man who doesn't understand how things work anymore." Her words hung in the cold air. 2 seconds. Long enough for something inside my chest to click into place. Because standing in front of her was not just a grumpy old man. Standing in front of her was a retired land surveyor. And the road she had just driven on to threaten me? She might want to check who actually owned it. "My name is Marcus Kellerman. I'm 58 years old, retired, and I've lived on this land longer than most of the houses around me have existed. This corner lot wasn't part of some developer's vision board. It wasn't a lifestyle community. It wasn't designed by committee. It was my grandfather's farm. Back in the 1950s, he worked 160 acres of Colorado prairie with his own 2 hands. No HOA. No bylaws. No newsletters printed on luxury cardstock. Just land, hard work, and respect for boundaries. When developers came sniffing around in the early 2000s, offering checks and promises, my wife Sarah and I made a choice that confused everyone. We sold most of the land. But we kept 5 acres. The house. The barn. The corner where my grandfather taught me how to read survey maps before I was old enough to drive. So while Willowbrook Estate sprang up around us, rows of identical houses, pristine sidewalks, HOA signs planted like flags, we stayed. We became the odd ones out. The old holdouts. Some people thought it was charming. Others thought it was inconvenient. But nobody questioned it. At least, not at first. 3 years ago, Sarah died. Cancer doesn't announce itself politely. It arrives like a thief and takes everything with it. By the time it was over, the house felt hollow. Too quiet. Every room full of memories that hurt to touch. I stopped sleeping. Some mornings, I'd wake up before dawn and just sit there, staring at the ceiling, wondering what I was supposed to do with all that silence. That's when the snowblowing started. At first, it was practical. Winter doesn't care about grief. But it became more than that. The vibration of the engine through my gloves. The steady rhythm. The clean lines cut through chaos. It gave my hands something to do while my mind healed. So I started early. 6 a.m. Sometimes earlier if the storm was bad. And I didn't just clear my driveway. I cleared everyone's. For free. Mrs. Henderson, whose hands were twisted with arthritis. The Martinez family, with twins barely tall enough to see over snowbanks. Even Bill's old golden retriever learned to sit by the mailbox, tail wagging, waiting for his treat. 15 years. Not one complaint. Not one fine. Until Priscilla Thornfield arrived. She moved in during the summer of 2020. White Tesla Model X. Perfect hair. UC Berkeley Law degree. The kind of smile that feels calculated. Polite, but cold. Within 60 days, she was HOA president. Zoom election. Half the long-time residents couldn't figure out how to log in. Her Property Enhancement Initiative started immediately. Mrs. Henderson's rose garden, suddenly non-conforming. Bill's vintage pickup, detracting from curb appeal. Christmas lights after January 15th. Garbage cans visible for more than 30 minutes. A coffee mug left on my own front step. She documented everything. Photographs. Timestamps. Legal language thick enough to drown in. Her newsletters were immaculate. Embossed. Intimidating. And the way she talked to us. Like we were relics. "How charming that you still do manual labor, Marcus," she said once, smiling as she installed her 6th ring doorbell. That tone. That assumption of superiority. She treated the neighborhood like a corporate campus, and the residents like employees who needed correction. So when she marched up my driveway that December morning, waving legal threats, something snapped. Not anger. Something colder. Because I knew something she didn't. I'd spent 32 years mapping property boundaries. I knew every easement, every right-of-way, every drainage line. And Oak Street, the road she used every day, had always bothered me. The measurements never matched my grandfather's maps. That morning, after she left in a huff, I pulled those maps out of the basement. The musty smell of old paper filled the room. I set up my old theodolite in the yard that evening, pretending to check my fence line. But I was measuring something else. And when the numbers lined up, my heart started pounding. Oak Street ran across my land. 40 feet of it. Never sold. Never condemned. Never transferred. For 15 years, the entire neighborhood had been driving across Kellerman property. Including Priscilla. Every single day. She escalated fast. Noise complaints. Next-door campaigns. Emergency HOA meetings where I wasn't invited. She painted me as unstable. Weaponized my wife's death. Even sent deputies to my door for wellness checks. Each time, the case was dismissed. But she didn't stop. She called the media. Filed restraining orders. Accused me of intimidation. That's when I stopped reacting. And started planning. Because this wasn't about snow anymore. This was about property rights. And she had no idea how badly she'd miscalculated. With my attorney, Danny, we confirmed everything. No easement. No public dedication. No legal access. The subdivision had been built on an assumption that paperwork was finished. It wasn't. So I sent 47 certified letters. 30 days to negotiate legal access. Or lose road use. Then I installed the gate. Steel. Heavy. Legal. When it closed for the first time, the neighborhood froze. Cars backed up. Phones came out. Priscilla went nuclear. She lied in court. That was her final mistake. Because lying under oath isn't an HOA violation. It's a crime. At the final community meeting, with cameras rolling, I laid everything out. The deeds. The maps. The truth. And then I offered peace. A $1 easement. 3 conditions. She resigns. The harassment stops. A community fund is created. The room erupted. She resigned within days. Her Tesla disappeared soon after. Her law license suspended. Today, Oak Street is open. By permission. We shovel together again. We talk again. And every morning at 6 a.m., when the snow starts falling, I fire up the Snowblower. Not out of defiance. Out of love. Because good neighbors don't need rules to do the right thing. They just need respect.